Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Design Recharge. I'm cold and it's rainy, and so I've got my jacket on. I'm Diane Gibbs. I'm the host, and I'm going to wear my glasses today because my eyes are tired. And I am super excited to have, I've been stalking Ryan for years now, I think. So now I'm finally excited to, I know all about his kids and whatever, but we haven't ever, we met when we did our chat or whatever. But we're going to talk to Ryan Hamrick, and he's an amazing letterer. He's an entrepreneur. He's just a really neat designer. So I'm excited. Thank you so much, Ryan, for being here.
Thanks for having me.
My stalking dream comes true. Yay. I'm just kidding.
I was wondering when you were going to ask me on the show. I've seen a lot of my friends doing it, so I was like, yeah, when you finally reached out to me.
Well, Ryan, I really was like, oh, look at all this cool stuff. And you were always on my list, but maybe some people just make me more nervous, but I shouldn't know. Yeah, I'm a stalker. Oh, it says your name. I don't know. Anyway, you might want to write your name next to what you say. So I will keep warm, Sarah. Okay. But your work's just rocking awesome. And so I'm super excited. So tell us a little bit about, we were just talking about this. So tell us a little bit about your background and then where your interest for design and specifically lettering kind of began.
Sure. Well, I've always been kind of interested in design and art. Drew a lot as a kid, had ideas of starting comic books with friends and stuff in school. But I kind of just put that all on the back burner when I started a family pretty young and started working full time. Kind of dropped out of school about a semester and a half into it and decided I was going to do it on my own and save up money, which was kind of silly at the time. But I managed to get myself into wireless retail management. I started out with Sprint and was managing one store for them, and kind of built that up with experience to managing a bunch of different wireless stores for different carriers, Verizon, Sprint. And when we actually moved to Pittsburgh about 6 years ago, I had to leave the job that I was at now. I couldn't transfer or anything. So I decided I would just stay home for a while and find the right thing there in Pittsburgh. And that never really happened. So I started writing freelance for a bunch of wireless tech sites. That's what I had been doing. I knew everything about all the phones and everything that were coming out. And so I started writing about them, covering wireless news and reviewing apps and stuff like that. Ended up being an editor-in-chief of a site for a while. And then from there, I decided, you know what? There's not enough good-looking Twitter apps on BlackBerry. I was using BlackBerries at the time, and it mattered to me. Not anymore. But so I decided to design an app. And I designed the entire BlackBerry Twitter app without knowing anybody that could build it, without knowing anything about building it myself. And then finally found somebody to build it with me and become a partner with me and do that. And it's actually still one of the top selling BlackBerry apps on the BlackBerry platform, which doesn't really amount to a whole heck of a lot compared to iOS stuff. But so that was my first foray into design. And that was kind of the first time I had really done anything professionally with it, or professional is like a loose term. It was pretty bad. But and then I knew nobody in the design industry at all whatsoever. I knew nobody in Pittsburgh at the time. We had no family there or anything. We just moved there for my wife's job. And so that was kind of like my first toe dip in the water of design, and got involved with Dribble and stuff and using that and trying to kind of build an audience there, and didn't actually discover really what lettering was all about until then. And this was probably 4 years ago. And so,
man, you took it by storm then. So you really wiped them clean with it then. That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm getting a phone call. That's weird.
I see her on the show. No, I'm just kidding. It's your mom. What are you doing on TV or whatever?
So yeah, that was kind of like a weird segue from tech into design, and then what ended up being lettering kind of took over all my work at that point. So yeah.
So for lettering, you saw stuff on Dribble and you were attracted to it. How was your handwriting at the time?
Horrible. It still is. If I went really slow and really focused on what I was doing, I could write okay. but I've never had great handwriting. I actually write in all caps and really sloppy when I write. And yeah, it's absolutely nothing like what I do when I draw letters. But yeah, it's pretty rough.
So what drew you to lettering? So what was it that kind of like, oh, I've got to do this?
Sure. I think if I remember right, one of the first things that I saw online that really just compelled me to try my hand at it myself was a skateboard deck by Simon Olander. He did a New York skateboard. It was black with like white lettering, and it had really cool like almost like half-tone shading and stuff. And it just really stood out to me and made me just say, you know what, this is something that it might not go well, it might be horrible, but I'm going to try my hand at this and see what it's like. And then after that, I found people like Sergey Shapiro, Rob Clark, Jed Palmer, a couple of my early on guys that I really latched onto and started following along with and trying to interact with and kind of build relationships there to learn some things and just try and glean some of their amazing talent for myself. And yeah, just it started out very, very rough, and I hadn't drawn really for years and years at that point. Anything design related that I was doing was all UI design and stuff. So yeah, it was slow going, but just decided that it was something that I really, really enjoyed and was going to make work no matter what.
Right. Well, so did you, with lettering, because I think most people are like, oh, I don't have good handwriting, right? Or I'm, so I think honestly it was just that, hey, I see that, I can do it. Did you know how big lettering was when you got started? Because 4 years ago, it was still pretty big. You know, it wasn't completely new, right?
Yeah, it was kind of a thing, but it wasn't quite like it is now. There was definitely far fewer resources available for learning this stuff. The people that knew it kind of seemed to have studied it in school or had been to the big name workshops and stuff in New York or whatever. And it was a very tough thing it seemed very unattainable as far as the knowledge goes for how to do this stuff. And it was still kind of, like I said, it was nothing that I had really noticed before finding some of those people on Dribble and stuff.
You mean in app design, there's not a huge lettering?
There really isn't, you know? And I think the logo for our app was like I might have used Helvetica and just slapped some vector thing that I found online onto it, and it was like really rough. I knew a little bit about Photoshop styles, and that was about it at that point. And so yeah, it hadn't really even occurred to me. I wasn't paying all that much attention to typography and signage and stuff like that at the time. I really was just totally aloof, and it didn't seem like a big enough thing for me to pay attention to until I noticed it. Once I started getting more involved in the industry and following along with the key players, I realized, oh wait, this is something that's a legitimate thing that you can actually do and make a living at if you really get into it. So
then you also, it sounds like one was attitude, like, hey, I can do this. I'm going to try this and I can do this, which I think is great and huge. And then two was that you also made some good connections early on, and you reached out and sought some help, and you were, so one thing I see in class when a kid's like, oh, I really want to do some lettering, I'm like, well, you need to look at some stuff because maybe your handwriting's not the best. Or sometimes there'll be this kid today, she's just amazing handwriting, and she does this crazy kind of type, and she's like, I didn't look at anything. And I'm like, well, you're 1 in a million, because most people have to look at something to get that out. But I think making those connections, sometimes I think maybe when you don't realize that the industry is as big as it is, you kind of think maybe it's more of, oh, these people are really cool doing this. Maybe it's kind of a hobby. I don't know if this is an industry kind of thing. And so you reach out, but that's one thing I love about you is that even on like, I don't know if you knew who I was, like whenever I started stalking you, like, will you be my friend on Facebook, but you did, and I would comment on something and you would like talk back to, I mean, not like talk back to me, but like you would respond. Yeah. And I think, was that how it was for you, that people just kind of like took you in and and helped you along? They just made it an easy transition. Did you ever have anybody who was like, I'm not talking to you, I don't know who you are?
No,
I'm sure.
not really. I mean, everybody was really, really great. The people that I did reach out to seemed genuinely happy to engage with me and answer my questions a lot of times when they probably didn't have to. And there were a few people that, were probably just too busy to really respond. And I feel myself in that kind of situation a lot lately. And I kind of, it's something that I didn't really understand at first with certain people. Is like, well, I reached out to them, but apparently I'm not, important enough to respond to. But now it's like I have times where like I'll take a month or two to get back to somebody. And I'm like, I totally get it now. Like I want to respond, but I don't want to respond, too briefly. And so I want to make some time to do this right and give them a proper response. And then I forget about it completely. And, it happens. But no, I mean, as a general rule, I mean, everybody was really, really awesome and helpful where it's just a lot of times a matter of actually asking and, trying to engage with somebody. And, usually it's just getting over that intimidation. And then once you're there, you find out they're awesome. And then they're super helpful. So, and that was most of the case for sure.
So you have this one piece that I really love because, again, I'm a stalker. And it says, it's about like when you found designers, you found your people. And when did you find this? I guess, obviously, when it was was it like 4 years ago, or was it deeper in, like 3 years ago?
It really was well after I started deciding to make this a career. I was in a city that I had no contacts in. I knew nobody in Pittsburgh there. I was there for about a year or so when I first started, or not, maybe 6 months or so when I first decided, I'm going to do design full time because that's what smart people do, is they join an industry they don't know anybody in. So I literally knew nobody because I didn't go to art school. I didn't go to study design in class. And then even if I had, I'd moved completely away from anybody that I knew. And so it was kind of like starting from complete zero and trying to engage with people that had no reason to know who I was. And I couldn't expect anybody to give me any chance. I think it took me like 8 months, to get drafted to Dribble once I signed up, just because I didn't have anybody that I could say, hey, you have an extra invite. I literally didn't know anybody. So, but through Dribble and through going to Dribble meetups and stuff in Pittsburgh, some of the first initial ones that we had, I met people like Jay Finelli, Valhead, a bunch of the Pittsburgh big names that you would know, and kind of started forming friendships with them. And then once I finally got into the Dribble community and started posting and just making it a point to interact and give feedback wherever I felt like I had a place to, that's when I first started really getting to know some of those people. And it turned into, something where I feel like pretty much anywhere I go now, I have somebody that I know and that I can, connect with. When we moved to Austin a year and a half ago or so, before we even had all of our things here from the moving truck, we had a little happy hour with like 10 or 12 people from Austin that I'd never met before, that all came out to welcome us and have some drinks and stuff one evening. And they were all people that I knew from online, from the design community. And just being able to come in and just have a built-in friend base in a new city where I've never been before is like night and day difference from when we moved to Pittsburgh. I didn't know anybody, and now, I can pretty much find somebody that I can connect with and relate to just about anywhere now. And that's like, it's all because of design and, the relationships I've made on Dribble and Twitter and Instagram, whatever. And it's really cool just to have a community that I can tap into anywhere. So
just think, if you had known people in Pittsburgh, none of this would have happened.
I know.
So yay for
Pittsburgh
social
media. Very
media.
good to me, and people there were awesome and still some of my best friends. So
that's awesome. Anyway, I think that's a great story. I think people are wary about moving to new places, and
sure.
but really it is building that community before you move and connecting with people beforehand. So Jason wants to know, and I'm so sorry, I tried something new by sending the link so that you didn't have to type in your name, and now we just have a bunch of your names over there on the chat. But Jason wants to know, can you tell us about your love for rye whiskey? And you do post a lot of these beautiful like bottles and the drinks and whatever. So talk about that a little bit.
I am a major whiskey lover. You can probably see, I think you can see in the video.
We can see it, yeah.
Collection of bottles here. I think I've gone through about 32 different kinds. I'm trying not to buy the same one twice if I don't have to. And I've been through a lot of stuff, and I've only been really drinking whiskey for probably 3 years or so. And my favorite drink, the old fashioned, has been a wonderful guide in taking me through all these wonderful different kinds of whiskey. Definitely preferring the ryes right now, but I like a good bourbon as well. And I'm kind of exploring into the Irish whiskeys now, and kind of a big fan of those now too. So we'll see where that goes. Trying out the Jamesons and whatnot. So yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, you never know. People always have all kinds of questions, and I think you're among booze and shoes, Travis says.
Booze and shoes.
Yeah. All right. So I think we kind of covered number 3 already. What drove you to lettering? Don't you think?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
All right. So what about Tim wanted to know, where does lettering, which I think is an awesome question, where does lettering work paying projects come from?
Sure. Well, I mean, today they mostly come through my website. I have an actual web form still on my site instead of just an email link, and I get a lot of inquiries through there now. But starting out, really having a pro subscription to Dribbble and having that hire me button on there was huge. I got a lot of my first real work inquiries through there, and a lot of those were a little more hit or miss as far as the quality of those inquiries were going. But it was the first paid work I was really getting for this stuff, so I was gobbling it up as much as I could. And I was getting a little bit of a mix because I was still posting a mix of like UI stuff and lettering things on Dribbble at first. And but I was getting a little bit of paid work on both sides. And then, once the lettering stuff started becoming more and more what I was doing, and I was posting more exclusively lettering stuff online, the leads that were coming in were more heavily shifted towards that. And it really pretty much started with Dribbble, engaging people on Twitter and stuff, kind of diving into conversations that people that I admired were having with each other, and kind of just inserting myself into those conversations. And I think in a lot of those early cases,